Hi, this is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset Cafe, where we are discussing Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. More specifically, we are on chapter 15. We're actually on the last chapter of the book. And the chapter is all about the 6 major fears. You know, the top level, we can call them something and we can all identify the variations that we experience of those fears. Today, we will be talking about the fear of ill health. Good morning, Matt. I titled today's program as If I Told You You Look Ill, ... Because one of the human experiments I've done myself, experiments, and I've done it 2 different ways. The first one is, have you ever, I did this years ago when I was studying psychology, did you ever stand in a small crowd? Or even, actually what I did was I went out on the street in the city, reasonable sized city, you're talking Indianapolis here, and it was downtown, and I looked up. That's all I did. I just looked up. I wasn't looking at anything in particular, but the purpose of my looking up was to see who would join me. Could I have an effect on other people's behavior? Just a passive thing, right? Without saying it aloud to anybody. I just looked up. There were people that looked up. There were people that stopped. They stopped, and that's when a very small crowd gathered. They stopped and looked up. And that's all I did, and I would do this. I'd just stand there and nothing in particular. There was nothing special going on up there. I was just curious. I did no harm to anybody. I didn't say anything to anybody because that wasn't the intention, was to call anybody out on anything, right? But it was just an experiment. Another experiment I've done, and I've done this just for grins and giggles, because again, it does no harm, right? But it does provide me with valuable feedback. And can I influence strangers just randomly to do something? Well, sure. You can do this yourself at any time. I've done it walking down city streets. I've done it when I've been at a mall. And all it is catch somebody's eye and smile. And note how many smile back. Yes, exactly, Cindy. Just note. Catch their eye and smile. I've done that for years. Can you tell I'm a researcher? Just by heart. Just curious, right? Always asking questions. What if? What will people do? How will people respond? So that gives you kind of some context of where I'm going to go with this fear of ill health thing. In my view, of course, I welcome your views as well. So Napoleon Hill is telling us that the fear of ill health can be traced to both physical and social heredity. We've talked about that before, what those are. It's closely associated with the cause of fear of old age and of death, because it leads one closely to the border of terrible worlds, of which man knows not. How's that for a nice way to say, listen, we're scared to death of the unknown. That's why they're the terrible worlds. It's unknown. Who knows for sure? Very few people have had the death experience. Very few. So, I mean, it's not even a percentage point for the number of people on this planet, right? So let's just say we don't know what death really does bring to us when it comes to our consciousness. We can speculate, we can dream, and I do. But there's a reason why people fear death. And it's because it's of the unknown. And when it's unknown, it goes into that terrible world, old age. Well, the fear of old age often comes from that social heredity, right? What we see when we see how people treat old people, the elderly, in our communities, in our homes, in our families. When we hear stories of how people are treated. Okay, so those are fears of those terrible worlds. So ill health falls right into it. And this is funny. Remember, this is 1937. The opinion is somewhat general also that certain unethical people engage in the business of selling health. And they've not had anything to do with keeping alive. The fear of ill health, really. Think about that. They have nothing to do with keeping alive that fear of ill health. Right? So seriously, let's take a look at, we're bombarded with television advertising, internet advertising, direct sellers of health supplements. We have opportunities at every moment of the day. If you want to get healthy, Google it. And this is not saying anything about the products or services that are offered by anybody who produces those advertisements that you see at all. What happens to us when all we're seeing is how we should be healthier, should be making better decisions, even if we are already on a health and wellness path? And have always been. How are we influenced by those advertisements? Well, if you have any kind of health issues at all, I think it's safe to say that you see those things and it reinforces that fear of being ill. So we've got all that going on, right? It's all subconscious because it's all filtering in. It's coming down inside. Our mind is taking hold of it, filtering it down inside to match whatever story we have in there. Hence the physical social heredity, what we're already thinking about when it comes to being sick. All right. So the next thing is during the flu epidemic that broke out during the World War. And he's talking about World War I. I'm talking 1919, 1918. I believe this is the 1918 Spanish flu epidemic that occurred in the United States. Okay. That's what he's referring to. All it says here is during the flu epidemic that broke out during the World War, has to be World War I, the mayor of New York City took drastic steps to check the damage which people were doing themselves through inherent fear of ill health. He called in the newspapermen and said to them, "Gentlemen, feel it necessary to ask you not to publish any scare headlines concerning the flu epidemic. Unless you cooperate with me, we will have a situation we cannot control." Newspapers quit publishing stories about the flu, and within 1 month, the epidemic was successfully in check. I started this discussion with my own experiences of social experiments of influencing behavior in people. And now we're going to move into influencing the thoughts of other people. So through a series of experiments conducted by Napoleon Hill many years ago and others, it was proved that people can be made ill by suggestion. Because we're preying on that fear of ill health. So we conducted this experiment by causing 3 acquaintances to visit the victims, each of whom asked the question, "What ails you?" Think that through. You've only got 3 people targeting one person. The first one goes up to the victim and says, "You look terribly ill." To which the victim replied with a grin and a nonchalant, "Oh, nothing, I'm all right." Then the second questioner did the same thing. "You look terribly ill." And got this response: "I don't know exactly, but I do feel badly." And then the third questioner met up with the victim, told them, "You look terribly ill," and usually was met with a frank admission that the victim was actually feeling ill. Yeah. So I hearken back to the day when I worked in offices and I'd hear people say, "Boy, you look pale. You feeling all right?" I would sometimes get pale before I ate something. I'd get washed out. But I wasn't, if you're not thinking, and I wasn't, I remember by the end of the day, even after I'd eaten, that I'm really tired. It's not that I felt ill. It's not that I felt really sick. It's not like I had the flu. Just look, I just feel tired. Yep. I can identify how it can happen to me and my own experiment with others that I've done over the years. Absolutely. We can tap into this and other people, right? How many other people are absolutely scared to death of getting cancer? I can show you thousands of people who are terrified they're going to get cancer because they see it all over the place, because everybody gets cancer and not everybody survives, and the treatment is horrifying. I hear this, and I'm not terribly affected because I'm a cancer survivor. I know the realities of cancer, of having it. I'm immune to that particular fear. But it's also because not only just my own experience, but remembering my own experience, sharing it with others who are going through it, and reminding at every time when I'm sharing with others that it's not a death sentence, which is what I would say. So I've told myself and somebody else often enough that it has trickled down into my subconscious. Now, I can't say that about everything, but I can say that about cancer. There's overwhelming evidence that disease sometimes begins. Remember, this is sometimes. These are not absolutes here. I'm not saying 100% of the time. I'm not reading 100% of the time. What I'm reading is that there's overwhelming evidence that disease sometimes begins in the form of negative thought impulse. Doctors send patients into new climates for their health because a change of mental attitude is necessary. And in today's world, I can tell you that more and more doctors, including my own, are interested in what's considered holistic treatment, which is more than just treating a symptom. It's one of the reasons I was able to get myself medication free from a really, really bad autoimmune issue. It took many years, but I had my doctor's okay on it, and with his support in terms of call me if it goes wrong, I'm here, but I fully support your experimentation to see if you can become medication free. He couldn't offer alternatives for me because he wasn't familiar with them, but he supported me as a patient taking charge of my own health. And because of that, I went from taking as maintenance 16 pills a day, literally 16 pills a day, that's just maintenance, to zero. I don't take any medicine, and I haven't for almost 5 years. So it was a shift in mental attitude, and it was a shift in, as he said, a shift in, well, let's stop treating the symptoms and see if we can treat the person. Right? That was my own experience. And back 100 and some odd, almost 100 years ago, it was the same here. Doctors send patients into new climates. I used to send them, what was it, the TB? Used to send them out to the plain states, into the drier climates, right, for tuberculosis. The seed of fear of ill health lives in every human mind. Worry, fear, discouragement, disappointment, and love and business affairs can cause the seed to germinate and grow. And the recent business depression kept the doctors on the run because every form of negative thinking may cause ill health. And that applies to today, doesn't it? That applies to today. All right. So, what are some symptoms of ill health? We have autosuggestion. This is, sorry, that's why I started this out. What if I told you you looked ill? And what if you heard that all day? What if you told me that? What if every one of you in chat for the next hour, please don't do this, please. Don't experiment on me because I will delete those comments. But what if you were to say, Charlene, you don't look well today? Are you feeling okay? What if you did that to somebody else on Blab? I want you to think about that for a second. That's autosuggestion. That's hearing it from somebody else and internalizing it and bringing it on and all of that stuff. So autosuggestion. The habit of negative use of self-suggestion by looking for and expecting to find the symptoms of all kinds of disease. Now you're getting into hypochondria. The habit of talking of illness, concentrating the mind upon the disease and expecting its appearance until a nervous break occurs. Hypochondria is a medical term for imaginary disease. When they say it's in your mind with hypochondriacs, it's true. The problem is that it manifests itself in a real issue. I love that, Cindy. How about you look really healthy today? I hope you feel as well. That's an excellent way to lift people up, isn't it? That is an excellent way to lift people up. Exercise. Fear of ill health often interferes with proper physical exercise and results in being overweight by causing one to avoid outdoor life. Might get sick if you go outside. Susceptibility. This fear breaks down the body's natural resistance. And this type of person spends much time preparing for sickness, talking about death, saving money for cemetery lots, burial expenses, and, you're going overboard. Here's another symptom of the fear of ill health, self-coddling. It's a habit of making a bid for sympathy and using imaginary illness as a lure. Yeah. Feigning illness to cover plain laziness or to serve as an alibi for lack of ambition. Intemperance, the habit of using alcohol or narcotics to destroy pain such as headache, neuralgia, etc., instead of eliminating the cause. The habit of reading about illness and worrying over the possibility of being stricken by it. Constantly being on the lookout for the latest, greatest cure for a disease you don't have. We're talking about, we're more concerned about not being ill and telling ourselves we're not going to be ill to the point where we're going to be ill. So some of the comments are pretty terrific. I believe I am in charge of my own health to a huge extent. My current spiritual path allows me to ignore most of those ads and to trust I will get what I need when I need it. Again, it is that scare tactic that media advertisers use. Yes, when someone is in control of their own thoughts and their own spirit, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. And that's what this teaches us. These principles teach us that if you were to tell me I look ill, I would take a look at myself and say, you might want to check your camera. I look pretty good. See, I can disagree with that. The ones who can't disagree with that are the ones that are going to be negatively affected by it. Now, that's interesting, Matt. You know some very negative people, and they do tend to be sick a lot, don't they? Yeah. As soon as we say we are, then we are. Yeah, so again, how does this affect us today? When we see other people that are behaving like a hypochondria. I had one in the family. She has since passed. And it was talked about. It was like, oh, she only wants attention. And I looked at him and I, being an outsider to the family, I said, one time, I said, have you ever thought that maybe if she got a little more attention, she wouldn't be so sick? My husband was mad at me one day and said, you're not all that. You mean you didn't tell him you were all that and a bag of chips? I'm sorry. Oh. Yeah, someone who's always down, has so many physical ailments, taking pills. So my own experience with having gotten myself off of maintenance medications has been that is not something you talk about to those who suffer from the same illness. A couple of people followed me. A couple of people over the years have come to me via my husband or just come directly to me saying, I'm really tired of feeling like this. This is the maintenance meds I'm on, which I know is what you were on. This is what I have, which is I know what you were diagnosed with. How did you get yourself off of that? How did you do it? And I always tell them, I don't know if it will work for you, but this is what I did, beginning with telling my doctor exactly what I intended to do so that he could be prepared should it go wrong. And, I'm willing to do that, but honestly, this is like any other case of, this is truly like any other case of applying these principles and making changes in our lives and seeing those that are left behind. And there's going to be somebody attracted to the change you've made. And that's the person that's going to come up and ask the questions. And that's the person that will accept the answers. Anybody else? We're preaching at them, right? Anybody else? I'm waving my finger at them. That's the way they see it. They're not looking for a change. They're not looking for an answer. They're quite comfortable in their misery. They're welcome to it. In my view, misery and pain is optional. Yeah, misery loves company. I mean, what I mean by that is it hits and it goes away. It hits and it goes away. Staying in it doesn't have to be the way I live, and I don't. So again, yeah, Catherine, that's it. You can't get others to not do the negatives, but sometimes you can pour out the positive and they will be drawn to that positive. That's it. That's it. If people are attracted to who I am, what I say, what I do, that's awesome. That's great, because if they ask questions, just as we do of each other in here, you're open to finding out where you are. Charlene, where are you on the path to success? Oh, that's great. I'm at this level. Can we work together? Absolutely. Oh, it's a lot better than my telling you exactly what you need to do in order to make your life better. That doesn't work that way, does it? And that's not what we've learned through this book and others. Good morning, Jolene. Welcome. It's good to have you. Good to have you. You can't tell me what I need to do. Oh, I can tell you. I can tell you exactly what you need to do. Absolutely, I can tell you. I won't. It's really none of my business. And that's it, Betsy. And you can tell me exactly where to go. And I can decide whether or not to go there. See? For success to happen, I agree with what Catherine is saying, is that you can tell me what you think I need to do, but I have to find my own unique way. I totally agree. In order for success really to happen, that is how it has to be approached. Good morning, Cindy. So glad you made it. Good to see you here. I'll get up many times. Yeah, and it also comes down to something that we all know to be true. We don't do this by ourselves, do we? Sometimes it feels like that because of what we happen to be embroiled in. But again, misery is optional. Suffering, doesn't have to happen. I mean, we're going to have pain. Don't have to sit in it and be miserable. Don't have to sit in it and suffer. Oh, now that's interesting. So this is where I've been struggling. I've been waiting for the expert to tell me how. I know how. I just need to do how. Oh, well, then stop waiting, right? If you already know how to do it, then it's time to move forward. There is that moment where you realize you really don't know how. You know the why, you know the outcome, you know the when, you know the where, but you truly just don't know how, don't understand the intricacies or the steps to make it happen. And that's when a consultant comes in handy, or a coach, somebody that you can go to who's done it and you can say, show me how. How can we know the outcome? I can't give you exact numbers. I can tell you what I want to happen. And I can tell you that there's going to be multiple tries to make it happen. There's also a myriad of factors involved that will prove me wrong. Because I can sit here and tell you, even based on experience, what the outcome will be. People, places, and things get in the way. Universal laws happen. What I can control is my outlook on it, my approach to it, my willingness to persist, my willingness to be flexible, my willingness to learn to do it differently if necessary. It's better for me not to be attached to what it looks like, because plan A usually turns into plan B. Okay. Take the action, except you don't control the results. I'm all for that. I know what I want to happen, and the end goal is what I'm going for. But right now, my focus is on the action. I already set the end goal down. Now it's into action. That's always the key, isn't it? Always the key. Bill, you snuck in. Steve, good to see you. How are you two this morning? Purposeful action, yes. Yeah, and so that happens with our health too, doesn't it? That happens if we get caught up in the negative. If we find ourselves fearing being sick, I think it's time to take a look, right? Why are you afraid? You know, there was a time I would have been afraid because the health insurance didn't cover something. So that's a just in case. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Glad you think these are great thoughts. Anybody want to jump in and talk about them? You know, how susceptible are we really? I love that most of you aren't. I love that the comments I'm getting back are, no, this is my response. But I also love that we're able to see it in other people. You know, as much as I would love to take some people who have the very similar health issues that I had and shake them up and just tell them this is what you do, it's not going to do any good. Right? And that's it, Catherine. The more you train up the positive thoughts, the less you can be affected by the negatives coming at you. That's true. So that all begins with the thinking. But then, you know, I mean, even with the ill health, as with all of this, it's action, isn't it? So if I know how not to be sick, am I doing what I can? Is the doing a part of my day?
Hello.
There she is. Hello, Betsy. Missed you. How you been?
Good. I'm exhausted, but
Oh,
I'm not getting sick. No. But I just want to say something about the physical aspect though of, you know, being sick because I mean
mm-hmm.
it does like in terms of the immune system, I feel strongly that if you take care of your immune system, and which is the sleep and the eating, all those basic
Yeah,
kind of stuff, then you won't be susceptible. I mean, we all can, catch a cold, when we're down. It's like,
of
oh,
course.
so physical side, but I think it's the focus of attention. If you focus your attention on it, like we're talking about, like, oh, I feel so sick, people that are like, oh, it's like,
Yeah.
shut up. Like, please, like, just, come on. Like your baby toe, got a little, whatever. And so,
Yep.
yeah, I think attention. And not that I mean, I always bring this up, but, being a birth professional,
Mhm.
that goes with birth as well. Like, is there, pain associated? Well, yeah, but the whole thing
But
about
it's
that,
temporary, isn't it?
right, it's temporary. It's a reason, it's different kind of pain, but the focus part is what I was going to bring up. Like, if you focus on this hurts, that hurts, poor me, victim mode, that's what you're going to get.
Yep.
That's just frankly, that's what you're going to get. And, we can all slip. We're human, but definitely, I feel like people that don't get that though, like that are, say, in my life or that I've met, it's kind of like talking to a brick wall. Like, I feel like I'll be talking about like what I just said, and they're just like, oh, but I've had this forever and this and that, and what do you?
Well, the big one is you just don't understand.
Yeah, right,
You just
exactly.
don't
Yeah,
understand,
like
which is
oh,
always fun when I say, "Oh yeah, I get it completely," actually.
you can actually say,
And
I mean,
because that's the only time I get into those conversations, right?
right,
If I know what I'm talking about, no, I get it completely. Well, I mean, you want to compare deathbeds? Been there. Um,
yeah,
sorry, it doesn't happen that often. And I always say sorry because it sounds so
yeah,
brutal, and it does. It is. The couple of times I've actually gone to that point has been, you've gotten under my skin. I've had enough. Fine. You want to compare deathbeds? Let's go. Been there.
yeah, and and it's silliness, really, because it is all like what, like, you can't separate what's going on here with what's going on here
Yeah.
because it's connected. It's all the same part of the same system. And our bodies actually, like, we don't even think about it. Like, we breathe, the heart's pumping, all this stuff is like going on without us even thinking about it. We don't say like heart pump now, foot move one step forward. Like, it all is this synchronicity kind of thing. And then,
Yes.
yeah, something can like affect that, right? And then do we give it our full attention, or do we, that's the choice. I think that's the choice part that you were talking about that
Yeah.
earlier,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We
You
gotta,
you you hit it. We have a choice of how we want to think and look at ourselves. I love what Cindy's saying. She's saying many people try to tell her that her weight will cause something. Well, aren't they helpful?
yeah,
And her response is, I'm tested annually at my doctor's suggestion you know, to prove to insurance companies and whomever needs the proof that I'm healthy.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
That.
now I have people who are concerned about my weight, but only because they know I'm uncomfortable, which is a very different take. They're not saying, you need to lose weight because this is going to lead to. The handful of times that they've cared enough to say something is that, gosh, you just look so uncomfortable at that weight. And that's
Right.
usually how it's said. And I agree. I say I am. And that's why this is some of the things I've put into place. So it's a conversation, right? Rather than a defensive mode or walls or anybody trying to point their fingers. I had an aunt that used to try. So she was, and it was funny because usually I just didn't say anything. And every once in a while I'd snap back. But more often than not, it'd be a family member would snap back. And just let her know, no, that's not cool. So again, that's how we respond, right? It's how we see things. But also, I want to always be, we're seeing that happen. What are we doing to others? Because I think it's important that I always look at how am I treating others that I see do I want to tell them or point out their faults? Do I want to tell them about their health, right? And if I do, how do I do it? How is my approach? And I have close friends that I will ask, are you okay? Yep. Oh, that's great. Lift them up, right? We talked about that in the chat. That's great. I don't know. Just must be the lighting, not a problem.
Well,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
and
What's our motive for having that conversation with somebody?
what's the intention? Well,
Yeah.
you know what? I'll ask questions. You know, like I'll say, well, like if I'm hearing a story about, this pain and that and the pills and this and that, and I say, well, is that what you want? Like, how do you feel about that? Like, is that working for you? I mean, no, but not in a nice way.
Yeah.
Like, is that good for you? Like, and usually like it's, well, no, but there's like no other way. And I'll just kind of be like, well, are there other possibilities? What do you think? Like, so I just kind of ask them, and
Love that.
if they'll get back the same, then it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm here, like, if you need me. But, to myself, I'm not going to hang around with this person a lot, because I can't, then, like, I'm at this vibration, a lot of days, and then it's going to come down to this one. And it's like, why, when I'm up to big stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I can't feel, like, it's like I'm feeling like I'm less tolerant, and then I'm finding that I'm, like, maybe judgmental or not sympathetic. I don't know. Do you experience that at all?
Oh, I'm going to be the first one to tell you I judge.
Yeah. Like
I
I'm
flat
trying
out. Oh, thanks, Steve. So good to have you here. So good to have you here. I'm the first one. I judge you. I judge you by how you look, how you behave, what words you have, and that judgment. What that judgment is discerning whether or not you're going to stay around me.
Yeah, well, that's, I guess, what it is. Not, because everybody has a story. So instead of judging, like, oh, look at that person, blah, 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 like, okay, I'm sure they have a backstory.
Yeah, but
like,
that's not.
but if they want to live in, in the
criticism.
story, what's
Yeah,
that?
that's criticism, and that's gossip.
Right.
And that's a form of judgment.
Right.
So my mind, declares that judgment is that which I see, I judge to be either good, bad, or something, because I have to. I mean, otherwise I'm open to everybody, right? Not cool. Not a good thing. Criticism of others and verbal criticism of others is what you're talking about. Yes, everybody has a story. Well, but see, I just want to add this because it hit me in the head just now. Everybody has a story, and I am right behind that statement. Sometimes I don't want to hear the story.
Right. Like, if someone wants to live in their story, like, yeah, because we all have one. Mm-hmm. We all have one, but we don't have to be our story, and today's a new day.
Yeah.
I don't have to be I don't have to live in yesterday, but I can if I choose to.
Sure. And don't be surprised if the rest of us are moving forward with today.
Yeah, right? Like, where are you? Hello?
Hey, you're way up there. You're leaving us behind. Yeah, it's yesterday. Nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, hello.
How's that for a visual? The same thing applies to that, fear of ill health, because that physical heredity, we've been sick, right? So we put it in its place. This is one of my takeaways from this section, is that it's our perspective of it. Yes, I know what it's like to be very, very physically ill. I also know what it's like to be emotionally distraught. I also know what it's like to be mentally bamboozled, right? The swirl up in the head.
Me too.
That's what it is. I know what that's like. That's there. That's not the reality right now. So, and really what good that experience is for me is to recognize, oh, I'm getting sick. The fever, got an infection. We have some symptoms. I recognize it because I've had it before. Let's take care of it now so that, it doesn't go on for too long. That's my view.
Yeah, it's the awareness thing again. Being aware of what's going on here and what's going on here. Many people aren't really in touch with not only what, their thoughts, but even like their bodies, like how things work, and, you know, if something should feel a certain way, you know, like people just aren't in tune because everybody, you know, we're all so like everything's
Zombified.
yeah, it's like the gerbil on the wheel, like you
I
know.
can remember, it's so funny when you say that. What I recall is a time back in the 80s. I was talking to a man who was about maybe 8 or 10 years older than me. And he's whacked. He's a crazy guy. Has been for years. Still was crazy 30 years later, right? And he's, well, actually 20 some odd years later, he passed away a few years ago. Nice guy, but nuts. Just, he was nuts. And what he was grappling with was he could not understand the concept. When I told him, I know exactly how I'm feeling right now, he thought that was impossible. It baffled him that I could actually tell him, I know exactly how I feel right now. Yeah, that's that. And that is what comes to my mind. His name is Donnie. And again, nice guy, did a lot in the community, nuts. And when you sit with them and listen to him about what he worried about and what he thought was important in life, and how he approached things, you'd say the same thing. Enjoyable, but you're nuts. Harmless. But I remember that so clearly because he was befuddled and didn't believe me that I actually could tell him that at any moment I was capable of telling him how I felt about something. Just didn't believe it. And it baffled me that anybody would live through life totally unconscious of how they feel until after the fact. Because that's what he said. You don't know until after you've gone through it to be able to look back to determine, you know, really? Oh no, right now I'm in disbelief. That is, you know,
Yeah.
I know, no. And it just really, that image hasn't come to mind in a long time. That's why I wanted to share it. Well, one is because it hadn't come to mind in a long time, and it's very appropriate for right now. Is you're talking about people who appear to be zombified, just in reaction mode, passive mode, and wake up and think for yourself.
That's what it is. It's like wake up. And I know for me, you know, now that I am fully awake, and you know, besides, you know, from the coffee, but you know, when you become more aware and more conscious, you know, you can't go back to sleep. And then like for me, like
Yeah,
then
it ruins you forever, doesn't it? It
yeah, it
ruins you
does.
forever from victimhood. I'm telling you, it ruins you
I
forever
know.
from being
Some,
drawn into everybody else's drama or important things.
right. It's
Yeah.
like I used to be when I was, I don't know, growing up and younger and whatever, I'd be like, why can't I just like I would want to like stupidify myself if that's a word.
Oh yeah, dumb myself down.
Yeah, why, which is what obviously our society does. Like, look at public
Yeah,
education. Don't let me go there, but
I wasn't
it,
allowed to. My parents, my mother was all
yeah,
about think for yourself,
yeah,
and it's really okay to be smarter than everybody else in the room.
yeah. Even though, like,
Yeah, my
I,
my father my father was quiet it down. Don't dumb yourself down, but don't shine so bright. Yeah,
yeah,
you don't have to tell them. That was my father. So
mm,
it was because it was an old view of the way women should be, right? I mean, you know,
uh,
my father couldn't understand why he sent me to college if I was going to get married.
see,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
So when you know that, right, then it makes sense, that context of why I would be told, just don't tell them. It's okay to be smart. You just don't have to tell them. My mother was, oh, no, you need to tell them. So it was, you know,
Yeah,
but again, well, if you have a question, go look up the answer. We had a home library. And if we didn't you have it in the library at home, which was unusual, we went to the public library or we went to the university library. There's a place to find the answer before internet.
yeah,
So if you don't know, you go look for the answer and you ask the questions until you get the answer. You know, until you're satisfied with the answer you get. If you're not certain of the answer that you got, then you get with an expert to determine whether or not the answer is appropriate. If you see that something moving, the big one was, have you ever heard, you know, if everybody jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? Yeah, I grew up with stuff like that. Well, if everybody's doing it, it can't always be right.
right. It's Not a
Well, Catherine says I was usually first. Well, what my mother was encouraging me to do was to be first. I understood what she was saying. I just couldn't. Why do you want to do that, Charlene? Well, because everybody else is. Oh, really? See,
Yeah.
that's the context. No, that's not enough information. You do not base your decisions on what everybody else is doing. That's what I was taught.
But that's what most people do. You know, they go along like
Exactly.
sheep, pretty much. You know, interesting when you say that, what came up for me is like when I was growing up, like I was definitely going to college, you know, no doubt about, you know, you are smart, you are this, you are that. So I got like all of that, like good stuff. But at the same time, I always thought I'm gonna fail because they
Yeah.
put me up like you were
Yeah.
so, you know, smart and you
I
were, and
hated
then
being put. Yeah. That kills me. Don't put me on that pedestal because I was exactly the same way. If I didn't got
an
highest
A.
honors, yeah.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
didn't
It's
get
like
highest honors, I didn't live up to the expectation they put on me. And all they did was say, it's not like they said you have to get 100% every time. That wasn't it. It was
but
what I thought. It's the way I
that's
took.
right. That's fun. Yeah. See, that's what happened with me. And then, boy, I did do a lot of messed up stuff and mistakes, whatever. But mistakes are lessons I've learned. You know, here I am.
I have very few regrets.
No, yeah, it's just
And the some I do, it's the realization that I knew better.
yeah,
Honestly,
yeah,
I had the information and I knew better. And there's the regret is that I let myself down. Anything
yeah.
else
But
are learning life experiences.
right,
And that's
right.
what most of them are. So that's not a bad place to be. And that includes, let's go back to the ill health, right? That includes that. That you and I are to a place, and it's looking like everybody else in the room is to the place that says, you know what? You're just not seeing me correctly if you think I look ill.
Right.
Well, isn't that interesting? You want to clean your camera? You know?
I got like the darkness here, so you can't really.
You know what?
But,
well, I've looked at myself on live stream, right? Not necessarily here on Blab, but on other live stream programs and team meetings and everything else. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I'm not looking so good. I have lipsticks on, you know, and you can't see my lip. Oh, so I clean the camera lens.
Yeah, I clean the lens.
Well, there you go. Instead of thinking,
it's your own lens. Your own lens, right? We always
the glasses. Oh my gosh, yeah.
And even these lenses. You know?
Yeah, the real eyes.
Yeah, we always see ourselves, you know, worse or what. Well, I do. Let me just say, I do. You know, like I look like this and that, and other people don't always see what we see, right?
So now I want to address that really quickly, only because of my own experience. When I'm not in line, when I wake up not feeling quite right, when I'm just off, you know what I'm talking about? Just off. It's one of those days where you say, all right, God, I'm all yours because I'm going to muck it up if I'm going to look in the mirror and I'm not going to see something that looks really good because I have all that inside. I'm able to see my inside face. So the interesting thing to me, and this is what I used to tell people who couldn't understand, right? They couldn't understand why somebody who was physically beautiful was so adored, because they would talk to me and they'd say, I don't think they're that attractive, right? And I always said, this is the way I've always thought, is because we are able to see their inside face. For whatever reason, we're able to see past the exterior to see the true, which isn't that attractive. And I can remember, again, many years ago, working with some people, and my idea was get to know somebody and pay attention to how attractive they are after you've gotten to know them. Have you ever, because, you know, the classic, I can't believe she is married to him, right? He's like ugly guy and she's beautiful. Like, he's not ugly. Can't you see what's coming through? Right? And so the experiment is get to know somebody and how attractive are they after you've gotten to know them? I have met some physically beautiful people that are, I mean, just to look at classic beauties, I get to know them and I'm surprised that the light they bring to the room really doesn't blind people, because their inside face matches and exceeds that outside. Incredible.
Yeah.
And I've met some physically beautiful people that when I start seeing the inside face, it's like, no, you ain't so pretty. Yeah, you photograph nice, but that's all it is a flat picture. And the opposite is true, right? Where I've met some physically very unattractive people. I mean, they have, they're just not attractive. You know, some have illnesses, some have misplaced pieces and parts. Mm-hmm. And you get to know them. Oh, it's incredible how attractive they are. It all just falls away, doesn't it? And that's what I was thinking when you said clear out, clean the eyes. Look past that, past the initial flat image that you're seeing, because that's really all it is. Yeah, it's what we present to the world, and I'm going to be as groomed as I can be. When I'm having a bad hair day, I'm trying to ignore it. That's all surface stuff.
Every day.
Yeah.
Oh, not you.
Have great hair.
Like, whatever, just like, I didn't even wash it. And I went in the pool yesterday, and here I am. I'm just very open book. It is, this is it, with me. But it's true, though, but I think when we're younger, that shows up more, that physicality. When we're younger, it's like the whole physical thing, or we're just looking at the surface until we really figure out a little bit more about life. Yeah. And for me, it's funny because I was thinking about my husband, like when I first met him, like he's a cute guy, but like I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll go out with him again. But then as I did, and we did, end up, obviously here we are. But
he has title of husband.
Yeah, he has title of husband, 22 years. So there's something there. But it was when I got to know him, that's what really, it was like the wow. Yeah. That was the wow,
Yeah, we'll be married 26 years this year, and he's the best looking guy I know.
He's a keeper.
Oh yeah, nobody can outshine him when it comes to being attractive. So, and he thinks I'm the most beautiful woman in the world. I think that's a fair trade.
Well, there you go. And it's like, but it goes back to that whole physicality of illness, or what's on the surface is not all there is, although it will present itself, on the surface.
That's the key, isn't it? Let's go back to that inside face and what's happening inside. It will present itself in our physical being and well-being. Yeah. And of course, if anybody, all right, so here's, I'm just going to say this right now. If anybody thinks that Betsy and I are saying that every illness starts in the brain, being non-medical doctors, you're on the wrong program. You just are. What we're talking about is that I can make myself sick. I can think my way into feeling bad. I can think my way into feeling better. I've done it. The one thing I haven't been able to tackle, and I'm going to throw this out there just because there might be somebody who can walk me through it and give me an answer, is my motion sickness. I have it. Yeah. I have tried deep meditation. I've tried all kinds of things. And I get violently ill, especially when I fly. Double bagger here. I'm 52 years old and I still get, it's embarrassing, but it happens. And I've, Catherine, yoga. I've not tried yoga. I have, yes, I made myself car sick. Yeah, and what I'll do is I get in the frame of mind and I'm along for the ride and everything's fine and I'm focused in on one little spot, right? So that I know that the motion If I look over and it's like woozy, well, okay, so I'm going to enjoy the ride. And I meditate and all the
I wonder
stuff.
if it goes back to your birth experience. Is your mom still alive?
Yeah.
Ask her what your birth was like. I'm not. I'm serious.
I don't want to go through that again. I know what it was like.
It might be related. It sounds crazy, but honestly, it could be related.
Well, it actually doesn't sound crazy to me because I know motion sickness is related to the physical. It is an imbalance of fluids in the inner ears. So I know, but I know that there's a way for me to improve the experience. There was also medication that at one time I took that actually worked, and they changed the dosage or whatever. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I threw it out there. We're on recording. I'm going to share with you a few of the things people have been sharing. Genuine Scottish tactic. Sit on a folded newspaper.
Cool. That's easy to try.
Really? Yoga. Wristbands with pressure point. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good one.
I'm getting this. Scottish school teachers used to hand them out on school bus trips. Seriously. All I can think of is they must have been used to roll up into a funnel to catch it. Okay.
Maybe they would just
I'm thinking, I just made my own little bag here. I know how to do that.
Yeah, that's funny. I think the pressure points, though, there's a point, the pressure point.
All right, I've got a pressure point. That's one that I can look at.
Yeah.
Fraser, I honestly would consider the folded newspaper. It's just the actual purchasing of a newspaper isn't easy anymore, to be honest with you. And all I can think of is that most of them over the years, the publishing hasn't been so great. The ink doesn't dry so well. So I'm going to have, black butt.
Don't wear white pants.
Well, there you go. All right. So yoga is something that I've been wanting to try anyway, honestly. I've been wanting to get into some yoga anyway, which I've not done yet. And the pressure point.
Just do it.
Definitely something. Bizarre cures for travel sickness. Oh, now, Charlene, I can tell you that will. Let's see. I'll share that with everybody, see if it'll come in. I tried to pin it. There it comes.
Yeah.
7 bizarre cures for travel sickness.
Oh, cool. Check it out. Why not?
All righty then. So I have a couple of options for me. Thank you. You all are
good.
Well, sit on brown paper. Who starts this stuff? Someone once said to someone at some point, sitting on brown paper or newspaper would alleviate the feelings of motion sickness, something to do with the smell, having no basis in science and even being rather light on anecdotal evidence. This one is probably not worth a try. I can agree with that, Charlene, which is why I didn't seriously write it down when Fraser put it out there. It's not on my list. It's not on my list. But I can tell you that brown paper, like the old grocery bags, right? Brown paper soaked in vinegar, wrapped around a bruise or a sprain, will make it heal quickly.
Wow.
Vinegar, I can tell you that experience. My husband has done it. I've done it. It works. And it will reduce bruising greatly. It's the vinegar.
Yeah.
But everybody says, but it's always brown paper, so you stick with the treatment, right? Brown paper. Ginger, yes. Now, and I can tell you that I used to buy ginger at a natural health food store. All these years, my mother came across that. Number one, do not put ginger in Coca-Cola. You ever seen the Mentos commercial? That's what you get.
Oh, the blow up.
Oh, it'll blow up. Because I thought I had the bright idea, see if you have Coke, because Coke helps to calm the stomach. Coke syrup helps calm the stomach. Then put ginger in there and you double the dose. Don't do that. So having said that, yes, I got loose ginger. Not the herb at the grocery store. I went to a natural health food store and I got the gel caps so that I could fill them myself. And I would take 2 or 3 before a trip. And yes, the nausea was gone. It is perfect for nausea. It's also great for pregnant women who experience nausea. It doesn't take care of the head though.
Yeah, they're like the.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, things are still moving when they shouldn't be. But it does. It definitely does. I can attest to ginger. Definitely takes care of the nausea. So,
what do you call that? There's a name for that. In the inner ear and what's that? What's it called?
Imbalance and vertigo and
vertigo.
Yeah,
because
all of that. That's all a part of the experience. And then there's like a real tingling that happens in the body. It's like it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt, but it's a tingling on the skin. There'll be a complete cold rush through the body. And then
so you think it's a physical reaction? You think it's like, is it like, do you get anxiety a little bit before you travel, knowing that this?
That's happen? Why. That's again why I would deploy meditation, mentally prep myself. Even if it's a placebo, I'm willing to take something because I will tell myself, I will not get sick. I will not get sick. I will not get sick. I've gone to amusement parks, and I am going to enjoy this ride. I will enjoy this ride. I can ride some roller coasters without issues. Some. I can ride a Ferris wheel until somebody starts moving. Mm-hmm. And I'm in it and I'm enjoying it and we're moving and it's like, so again, it is, some of it really truly is a physical reaction. I don't always double bag on airplanes. Prop planes, I don't. It's the jet with the steep climb and the steep come down and then massive turbulence. Forget it. So
the only thing I'll say is
it's not the worst thing in the world, right? It's not the worst thing. Trust me. It's certainly manageable and you get through it. And it's some flights are worse than others. And some car rides are worse than others.
Yeah. I just wanted to say the only thing I just heard just now when you said, like, I will not get sick. It's kind of like the focus is on. Yeah. So
well, and I've done that, but I've also done I will enjoy this. This is going to be fun. And that's part of the meditation, right? This is going to be fun. It's going to be great. Yeah. I'm in a front row seat. I'm in first class. I already know the air is better up there with the air conditioning. It's going to be great. The stewardesses and the stewards always take care of first class passengers fantastically. And yes, that's, and I felt so good that I've actually eaten on a plane.
Woo!
Doing great. And then coming down wasn't a good thing. So
I don't want it to come out.
That's why I know that there's something that will help beyond just the nausea. So I'm liking the idea of the pressure point in the yoga. And put that in and that'll reduce the issue even more. That's why I'm looking at it. So thank you for that. So we are at the top of the hour. I'm going to close out the recording portion. Thanks for hanging with us that long and actually going through my experience of, sorry about that, motion sickness. If I edited these, I would edit that out, but I don't. You get this as if you were here for those watching the replay. So thank you, Betsy, for joining me in the live stream. Thank you, everybody in the chat area, talking about fear of ill health and being awake enough and aware enough to not have that fear. Those watching the replay, thanks for being with us this long. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouKnow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. Until next time, have a great day.